So when my toddlers turned into tweens, I found gentle parenting so much harder, and it's hard to admit it, but it was because I basically thought they don't deserve it. They're blaming me for every sadness, every mistake they made. It's you didn't, you said, it's because you. And I was like, forget it then. And that's the truth. And also I wanted to be firmer because they're so much more defiant. Then I was like, oh my God, now they think they're the bad ones, particularly when there's little ones in the house who are still getting all the nice gentle parenting. And I was like, I've got to flip this back up again. So I'm definitely a mum who have taken the kids' screens off them lots of times as a punishment because it seems to become the one thing they care about the absolute most. And it gets them nicely back into control. I am now in power, and let's be honest, that feels pretty good at difficult times. But I don't do that anymore, and the answer is to go back over my parenting, go back through gentle parenting, and figure out how to support my tween through their new stage of life. So today I'm going to talk about real-world consequences, realistic behaviour so you just feel like your house is normal, and also some techniques that you can practice and use every single time you feel right in the parenting mud pit. My name's SJ, and this is my gentle parenting series for tweens. I'll say that everything I'm going to say is with totally no judgment. I've done all of these things, and I actually felt that raising my voice, because they raise their voice more, meeting them and being much firmer was going to be the way forward, or just to snap them out of this sort of hip butting heads moment. But then I realised I was doing a lot of things that I looked into relationship deal breakers. So I was making them feel small and smaller than me, like below me, which is a big relationship deal breaker if you think about your grown-up modern relationship. I was making them feel that I never had their back. I was making them feel like I didn't take their side, and I was also sometimes making them feel that I preferred the other children that were maybe more still compliant because they were a little bit younger and easier to sort of do what the normal things that we've just been doing naturally for so long, like sitting down at the table for dinner, following the family routine. Suddenly all those things get chucked back in your face. So real world consequences are your best friend from now on, forever. Now you're in the real world consequence stage. You've probably been doing this for a long time, but when they get to tweens, it's really tempting to take away their screens as the ultimate #1 punishment that they can have because they really, really care about them, or take away something that they care about and give them something that's going to last a few days until they can correct that behaviour, because behaviour change takes a while. I can't be told to change something and then I'm like, snap, oh, I'll never do that again. Phew-wee, thank goodness you told me to calm down. I can relax and be calm now. So the reason it doesn't work is if you put it into your own real world situation. If you're at work, you've got a boss and you make a massive mistake, like you really F something up. If your boss says, okay, we're going to deal with this, you've got to deal with it, you already feel pretty rubbish about what's happened and pretty scared of telling your boss. How they react is going to change how you can cope with that mistake and how you can cope with the next mistake and the next one and the bigger one and the bigger one. So if your boss says to you, okay, well, you've got to deal with this now, how are you going to clean this mess up? And by the way, no snacks for a week, because I know you really enjoy having a little afternoon snack, but no, you don't deserve that anymore either. It's just layering on a totally unrelated punishment that's only there to make you feel bad. And that also will make them, if they're feeling bad in the moment, it gives them no chance to get over it, to learn that their mistakes are rectified, that they've dealt with it and carry on. So it could be that you say no screens or no snacks or none of this for 5 days, but then by day 5 they're still feeling as bad as they feel today. Why? Why are they still feeling that bad? And as that week goes on, all they're going to do is resent you more as the punisher. And it's just not healthy. It's not healthy for you, it's not healthy for them. So I never drag punishments on. I don't punish, but I needed something else. I needed a technique because I need to be somebody who in the moment that goes, okay, this is a strategy and know what I'm doing. So I've kind of created this technique. I really think it works. So just take a second to have a think about a behaviour problem or a dispute that you're having with your tween at the moment, and as I'm going through the technique, just think, okay, how does this relate and how is this relevant and how can I work this in? Because it adapts to every single problem, which is the best thing about it. So this technique is called connect, then correct. So the connection part is so important because what we never want is for our child to think they can't come to us with their problems. And I'm sure you as a tween or a teenager, sometimes your parents were the last person you wanted to go to, and that's normal as well. They will have their more and more secrets, and you might hear things that you're like, oh my gosh, I never even knew that happened, and that's also normal and okay. So with connect then correct, connect is such an important thing to do, and it's the core of like the gentle parenting part of the technique, and it's so simple. All we need to do is, I'm happy that you told me about that because you don't have to deal with this alone. Or I'm happy that I know about this now because you shouldn't have to deal with that by yourself. So either you told me, or I'm happy that I know because you aren't alone. And how different would that frame anything that you're about to tell somebody? It doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean it's instantly going to be okay or I'm going to take this away for you. It means I'm happy that I know because you're not alone. And you should never feel alone. None of us should. And it's also your special role. It's your parent role or your guardian role. It's such a nice thing that you can say to them that shows that you have their back. And that is such a lovely thing for a child to always know. I want my child to rush home to me when they're 50 and something goes wrong in their life. I want them to go, I know exactly where to go. I'm going to mum's and she's made a lasagna. I have the big problem that their big feelings are humongous, especially with my tweens. They are so loud. They cry, and it takes, I find, a lot longer for them to calm down. And we also know that you can't correct when somebody's feeling that big stress in their head. It's the wrong time to start to help them to correct the mistake that they made. But the best way of saying it is, I'll stay here. Or you can say, do you need some space? And one of my kids really needs space, and they'll just go off, be alone. That is a time when we don't move on to another activity and sweep it under the carpet. So I'm not saying like, oh, do you want to be alone? And they just get to go and watch telly for an hour with a snack. No, it's, do you want to be alone until they're sort of ready to chat? Or I'll stay here with you and just rub their back, whatever is their preference. And then you've done your connecting bit, and whatever happens after that, no matter how haywire it gets, how tangly it gets, if they don't calm down, if it keeps happening, the connection has been there. You've told them that you want to know everything, and you've told them they're not alone, and you've listened and supported their emotion in the feeling as well. Even if they've caused it, they're having a feeling. So that, do you want me to stay or do you want me to be alone? You show them that I care about you and your hurt feelings within this before we move on to, actually, you've done something that really needs correcting. The correcting technique is called then, now, next. And it is so simple. So when they're ready to chat, you talk about then, what happened and why it wasn't okay. Now, what's happening now? What was the consequence, the natural consequence of that? And then next, what's the natural way to make up for what is happening now? The reason this works is it's just how humans work. It's very easy. If you put this into the real world human consequence chain, this is the same for adults as it is for your tweens. You say then, okay, you sent the wrong file to the client because you didn't double check it. So you explain what happened. This is what happened. This gives me like heart palpitations. I'm like, did I? Have I sent the wrong file to the client? And now the client's angry and they're refusing to pay the full amount of the real invoice because you sent the wrong one over. You need to speak to the client, you need to have an honest conversation and own up to making a mistake, and we need to come to a solution. So that's pretty much normally a natural consequence of anything, and you can apply it to lots of things. But then what you can say is, that's going to be really difficult. Do you want me to be there with you? So if you're a decent boss and you've got somebody junior in your team who's less experienced than you, because that's all they are, they're less emotionally experienced, then you offer to support, you offer to be there with them. This is going to be really tough. Do you want me to be there with you? Is a really nice way of supporting and guiding them through how they're going to get through this. And if you do that bit with them, the point is that more and more they do that, when they hit these mistakes, because we're always going to make the mistake, they've got the techniques to solve it for themselves, but you're helping them now in their tween years so that when they get to teens and they don't want to tell you about it, they've got that method. And then it's also important when you're talking about the next that it's not just about doing the apology and cleaning it up, it's about why that happened. So it's like that happened because you're super disorganized with your filing. Again, the stress. Your desktop is a nightmare. So you need to clean up your files, and then recognizing that's quite a new skill for you, or that's something you don't find easy. Can I get you some help with it? Again, offering help. Offering help at this time isn't about saying it's okay. It's definitely not. It's about, they already know it's not okay. They know that because you talked about the then and the now, but this is the resolution, and you can't just make them go it alone when they're this little. You need to help them out a little bit, so you can help them with the difficult part of the conversation, and then you can help them with the tools and the new skill that they're learning to make sure it doesn't happen again. So to put this into a kid's behaviour, it would be then, you hit your brother and I won't let you hit, and I won't let anyone hit you. I always add that bit in. Whenever I say, I won't let you do this, or you did this and it was wrong, I also make sure I say, and I wouldn't let that happen to you. And then the now. Your brother's super upset and you still haven't resolved how you're ever going to be able to play football together without it escalating into a row. So we can't play football until we've sorted that out. So just explaining the natural consequence. And it's okay to take away the football. It's okay to take away the screen if the screen is the problem. We're not adding a punishment on top. We're not taking away the snacks or the sweets or the no pudding for a week. We're talking about the natural consequence of the game, the problem, the here and now, the natural consequence. And then the next, you need to have an honest conversation with your brother now about the fact that you made a mistake, the fact that it was wrong to hit him, how he made you feel, and figure out how he feels as well. That's going to be really difficult to have that kind of conversation. Do you want me to be there as well? And again, it's a new skill that they're going to learn. Once they've resolved the drama, which with kids often happens quicker than we're ready for it to. I think that's the other reason we punish, because we're not over it. We're not over seeing our children go at each other over something tiny, then the next second they're up and happy again and they haven't really resolved it. So we go, okay, we haven't really resolved how we're going to play this game without somebody getting cross. That new skill, we need to set some rules around this game, or we need to have some boundaries around the screens, or we need to figure out how we're going to get through the evenings of homework without this massive drama. So making sure that they do set a new skill out and that they've got a new tool for next time they get into the same situation. And if like physical anger is a problem, and it is in my house, it absolutely is. The bigger they get, the more there's a bit of like punching. Me and my sister used to whack each other with shoes. Like, it is a normal behaviour because anger is physical. So I got a punch bag and it's the best purchase ever. I'll link it below. I got one from Amazon, so cheap. Just blow it up and put water in the bottom. And it's right next to the football goal and in the garden, which is where a lot of the sort of scrapping happens. And they'll just go over now and just punch the punch bag. Life changer, game changer, so good. So they need to get that out. Think, what can I do to offset this behaviour? And if the problem is screen time, we are struggling with screen time, I'd say, at the moment as well with our oldest. I have limited screen time, and what I've done is put the lock on. So I will show you quickly how to put the lock on their phone, and you put a code in, and then I just say, okay, for this week, because we're having a chill out week or a little bit of a detox week, it's important to detox from online, isn't it? Let's all do it together. I've put a lock on your screen, and when you want to unlock it, just come to me, and they unlock individual games, individual apps. So it might be, can I unlock my Pokemon for an hour because we're going out for a walk? Yeah, of course, unlock it. And it's not about being in control or using it as a bargaining chip. Like, if you do this, this and this and this, then you'll get this, because then it makes it such a treat, such a, then why would you ever want to give it up? But having it as just a way of resetting their own behaviour around it. But the number one thing that I've done with screen time is just stop saying, turn off your screens now, do something else. Have something else ready. So I learned this, whenever you're changing a habit, you have to put a new habit in, whatever that is, for grown-ups as well. And screen time is such a habit, and a habit that we all struggle with in our adult life as well. So it's the same as us going, I'm not going to take my phone upstairs, I'm going to get a really good book that I get engrossed in. So I'm not going to say no screen time, Sarah Jane. I'm going to give myself something else. So I say to the kids, okay, rather than saying no screen time, I say, it's time to go to the park and play football. Giving them something else to do, or it's time to come and help me bake the pudding. They love making pudding at the moment, so their favourite thing to do. So I'm like, okay guys, come and make the pudding, and it's a natural, I'm giving them something else. And again, it's about making sure that the screen isn't like this ultimate reward, because it creates that bad relationship with the screen as sort of this ultimate goal is I will only do my life if I get my screen, and then the screen becomes like minute the heads are turned, it's like I get to indulge in this thing for hours, and it's unhealthy. So gentle parenting is hard because it's about parents, it's about us changing our habits, our behaviours, how we were brought up. And as I said, the tween years are much more triggering because it's like that's not how I spoke to my parents, so I was never allowed that, and it feels we're going back to our inner child and healing ourselves as we're healing them and all that good stuff. So it is hard, it takes time, it takes a new kind of patience, and it just takes practice, and you're not going to do it perfectly. I think the one thing about gentle parenting, sometimes people think it holds people up to a standard, and it's not a standard, it's a try it. If you're struggling with anything in life, you would try something new, and it's always so useful to have your ideas as well. So let me know in the comment section below if you found this useful. If you have a tween, I'd love you to subscribe to follow this series. It's going to be a few more. They're going to come out every few days, so hit the little bell as well, then you'll get a notification. They're all free, and as I said, they're just things that have helped me, that I've really honed and put into like techniques, because I need something up my sleeve so I can respond, not react. I will see you in the next video, guys, and enjoy your weekend with your tweens. Bye, guys.